Oh, man. It's a Saturday. It's heating up in Vegas. It's heating up in Phoenix. And guess who we got today? We got John Hardison, Game of Winning Podcast, Fat Fish Sports. That's right. We do our podcast, our regular show with Grunny and Fish on Monday, but we bring this guy in, John Hardison. What's up? I haven't seen you in weeks, man. We just couldn't hook up.
Man, it's just wild out here, man. Like there's just so many events going on. But everybody, make sure to take care of yourself and each other. People are getting sick. It's that kind of weird time of year. So just make sure you're taking, everything that you can, vitamins, minerals, everything to keep you as just healthy as possible.
Okay, Dr. Hardison. Great. Dr. Drew, Dr. Oz, Dr. Hardison. And I'm going doctor with him. I mean Dr. J. First of all, look at my shirt, right? A guy comes in the bar. You know the guy, Paulie comes in the bar last night and says, "Hey, Fish, are you in a bowling league?" And he looks at my shirt. And I said, "No, but Charlie Sheen called and he wants a shirt back." I get that. So anyways, do we have a problem again, unfortunately, in the NBA? I was dying to text you when the Dallas Mavericks sat five starters in a game that they had to win to make the playoffs. They just fined them 750,000, or it wasn't a million. But what's going on? Why do we have this problem where guys sit and they call it load management? When Grundy and I did a podcast last week, I thought load management was something that porn stars had, like Ron Jeremy, Johnny the Watt Holmes, John the Big Chocolate Thunder Hardison. I thought that's you have enough management for your load. What the hell's going on? You're the basketball guru. You talk about this on the Game of Winning podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple. I mean, shoot.
Man, you know what? I wish I had like Ron Jeremy. I wish I had the low management he did. I'd be a much richer man. But but look, the reality is this right now. I'm happy that the NBA did find them. I think it was utterly absurd that they decided to rest key players, especially key matchup players in terms of Luka Doncic, Kyrie, excuse me, when it mattered the most, because they still could have made the playoffs. They could have made it, and they could have made that run. I think what we're seeing partially right now is you're weighing the pros and cons of lottery picks. And look, we talked about this a long time ago with Cleveland. We talked about this a long time ago with the 76ers when they kept getting top three picks. At some point, you have to ask yourself, is making the playoffs and getting knocked out in the first round better than possibly getting a top five pick? And I think that's the question that they had to pose. But look, the NBA is making this case right now of we can't sell nationally televised games if the marquee players aren't playing. I get that there's times that you have to rest guys, but in this new CBA, they've made it abundantly clear that it's got to change. We talked. Brian Windhorst spoke about this during All-Star Week, where guys weren't showing up to the All-Star game until the day before, sometimes the morning of, whereas before they had to show up earlier in the week. Before the last CBA, they were letting guys, normally during the All-Star game, it was a week, and then you came back that Monday, and then people in the CBA were saying, no, we need more time, so then they ended up extending it. At some point, I think the NBA is saying, look, you have to be available for these marquee games, these games that we have nationally televised. We're trying to work with your player empowerment, but in the same time, you got to cut us some slack. And so I don't think what they did was necessarily wrong. I love that the CBA now says to be all NBA, you have to play, I think, a minimum of 70 games. That's going to cut a lot of that bullshit out of guys sitting playing 50 games, maybe 60 games, and make it all NBA, which I don't think is right. I don't think it's fair because you're rewarding them for taking 15 games possibly off, 12 to 15 games off, where you got other guys that are missing maybe 10, like guys like De'Aaron Fox. I just think that it's not fair. And look, I don't know why they would even protest, because they did it. They did it. It is what it is, and you got caught.
I have a neighbor. Everything's optics, and I have a neighbor whose kid said to him, "Dad, why are all these people upset, like Stephen A. Smith, on the morning shows that Dallas sat five, that Zion Williamson ran around warm-ups and throwing dunks in and shooting balls and doesn't play in a play-in game that the Pelicans needed against the Oklahoma City Thunder?" And I get what you say, and I see the theory of it, but optics says this: if you have to win to make the playoffs, you're thinking about, well, we're here to make the play. You never know what happens in the playoffs. You don't know. But you're going to think about a lottery pick. You don't know how these draft picks are going to be. I don't buy it. I wouldn't like it if well, maybe if the Raiders had all their starters, they might win. But it just doesn't work in any other sport. And the NBA needs you have such great superstars in this league, and you have, such every team, John Morant, the Grizzlies, you got great matchups. I will tell you this. Everyone in Vegas said when the Lakers played the Timberwolves in that playing game, bet the Lakers. The Lakers are going to definitely move on. It doesn't help when Adam Silver says we need our marquee. And I know you're the basketball guy, so I'm playing devil's advocate with you. It doesn't help when if Adam Silver says we need our marquee teams to move on, and they call 28 fouls on Minnesota and 12 on the Lakers. It's bad optics, okay? I mean, I don't get it. I mean, I maybe I'm too old school. I'm close to 63 years old, but let teams play, and whoever gets in plays.
I think part of it's that. I think part of it also you look at is the matchup. And I mean, being honest, I don't think the Lakers playing the Nuggets is an attractive matchup, but I do think that the Minnesota Timberwolves playing the Nuggets is a much more attractive matchup because of Gobert and Cat versus Jokic, and seeing how that post play or that mid range game plays out. I think that's more attractive.
The problem, if the Lakers lose that game to the Timberwolves, they're out, right?
So they would have had to play yesterday to make it.
So I mean, do you want to have LeBron James as a face of your league? Anthony Davis, they're playing great. What's the kid? D'Angelo Russell. The team is really gelling. I haven't talked to you, but I have many bets at Chuck's Tavern where I work with customers, and I said the Lakers are making the conference finals, and they're all you're an idiot when they were 7 games below 500, but they look really good right now. It's again optics. The league you want LeBron James in the playoffs. You do, okay. The NFL is the only that doesn't give a shit whether Tom Brady moves along in the playoffs. It's such a one-game thing everyone's going to watch. So let me ask you, move on that one. I know we're excited down here. You're not in Phoenix. The Coyotes had 58 points. What a joke, But the Knights had a phenomenal season, a number 1 seed in the Western Conference. Yet the money is on the Boston Bruins and the Edmonton Oilers to go to the Cup. I look at it this way. The Boston Bruins hardline, and you follow hockey, lost 12 games. That's the equivalent of an NFL team going 16-1. I will say this. I'm picking the Rangers to go to the Stanley. I'm going to get killed here. I'm picking the Rangers to go to the Stanley Cup Finals. They're more physical. They had 107 points in that tough conference. I got the Rangers, and don't call me a homer. I got the Knights going, even though I'm a big Kings fan. What do you got?
So here's the thing. I like Boston, but Boston reminds me of the 95 Red Wings, where everything was clicking. It was really good. We thought that was going to be the year, and then they end up losing in the first round. Like, it's just one of those things where if they're too good, usually it doesn't pan out. Like, normally when you're setting records in the season, you normally don't win. I mean, let's even look at Golden State when they went 73-9, and everybody was like, oh, they're going to end up winning the championship, and they lost. It's just one of those things. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rangers did make it. I would love to see the Golden Knights make it. I think that they got a shot. But Edmonton is just so dynamite on offense, and that's the hard part. And there's a lot of pressure on Connor McDavid to get it done. I mean, there's a lot of people that are starting to kind of question him now, like, where are we going with this? Because we've been kind of giving you the benefit of the doubt for a while, and right now, you haven't, I don't want to say not lived up to it. But what I would say is he hasn't necessarily gotten to that point yet. I could take the Golden Knights. I take the Golden Knights coming out of the West. In the East, you know what? I'm going to go for a long shot here because everybody's been hating on him for a long time. We'll see. Golly. I'm going to go with the Devils. I'm going to go with Jersey. I'm going to go with Jersey. I think they're really good. I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about them because it's Jersey, but I think the damn Devils are pretty damn good this year.
They are. And you know what? I'm all for the drama. I love drama in sports. And Gerard Gallant, there was a controversial firing by the Golden Knights. He goes to the Rangers and turns them around. And if he played against the Knights, it's something they could build upon to get a TV audience. And you're watching, I mean, the baseball season, it's phenomenal. A shout out to John Daly, our boy, that the games are now 24 minutes, faster. And Here you go. I mean, the Tampa Bay Rays are 13-1. The Red Sox, his Red Sox are what, 7, 8 games out? They're
Yeah.
still in. That's the great thing about baseball is that, you can be 8 games out because someone gets hot and you can make it up. There's no real stories other than that to me. I mean, the guys that are hitting. I like the fact, and I'm going to ask you a question, that the games are at a faster pace. What do you think?
I think that's what's going to help save the game. I mean, honestly, it's one of those things that now you're not worried about having to sit there, God knows what, 4, maybe 5 hours, depending on how everything works out. Like it's faster now. Guys are really having to just, get through the lineup. And I know the real controversial story right now is the selling of alcohol and when should the cutoff be and when should it not be. I mean, there's some people that are saying, hey, cut it off in the seventh. There are other people now and other clubs that are extending it into the eighth inning. And there are some baseball players that are out here right now that are saying, hey, the point of cutting it off in the seventh inning was to allow people to sober up before they drive home. Now we're stopping in the eighth or halfway through the eighth, but the game's going faster. Is that giving people enough time to sober up and able to, make sure that they get home safe and sound? And so that is really a big question right now. I applaud Major League Baseball for implementing this. I know that the Players Union necessarily weren't in favor of it, but look, you're losing TV revenue, you're losing, TV viewership. You got to do something to make this more dynamite. You got to do something to speed up the game. And look, even though Justin Verlander hated it, I love the fact that the baseballs were more aerodynamic and guys were hitting it off left and right. I think you need that. I think the NFL figured that out a long time ago. I think the NBA figured it out, as well. And I think it's just a matter of time before Major League Baseball really has to sit here and say, what is going to get us the largest reach, but also make sure that we're still taking care of our guys as well.
This is a Fat Fish podcast doing sports on a Saturday with that man right there. That's Johnny Hardison, man. We've been doing podcasts for 2 years. 68% in his picks in the NFL, and we're 4.5 months away from this guy making you money. He's the kind of guy that will handicap you if you piss him off, and he'll give you a good handicap in the game. That being said, I got 4 quarterbacks going in the first 10 picks, not a reach. We know about C.J. Stroud. The draft is 12 days away, Hardline. C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young are going to go 1 and 2. One goes to Carolina, one goes to Houston, or vice versa. I love what I'm hearing about Anthony Richardson and Will Levis. How many quarterbacks do you have going in the first round?
So you said over how many again? Over how many quarterbacks?
4 quarterbacks are going in the first round.
I'd say 6. I'd probably give you about 6.
Woo!
I'd probably give you 6. This is, again, unlike when it was here in Vegas, and I told you, I said, I don't think you're going to get more than maybe 2 quarterbacks in the first round. I didn't think any of those guys were really pro ready in the first round. And look, even we're talking about guys that went the second and third round when the draft was here in Vegas, that some clubs are pivoting at this point. They're really thinking, of getting away from these guys. Like in Atlanta, I don't know how much longer Desmond Ridder is going to last, whether that's wrong or right. I could see them replacing him sooner rather than later. But I think Levis will go in the first round. I think Richardson will go in the first round. Young will go in the first round. Stroud will go in the first round. Is Duggan coming out this year? I can't remember if Max Duggan's going.
Duggan's coming out this year.
I can see Duggan going in the first round just because of everything.
Wow. Go ahead.
I can. I think, again, when you look at his intangibles, there's certain things that you're like, But I think in today's day and age where you have running quarterbacks and that's a primary that a lot of clubs are looking for, I think he, somewhat fits the mold. I think he stays in the pocket, but I think he's a better than average runner. But but I think that's the thing. The question that everybody's really trying to figure out is, where is Carolina going with this? And what do they really want? Do they really believe that they can find their franchise quarterback this year? Or are they the type of person, are they the type of organization where they want to build defense first and then, come back to offense? The one thing I would say to every rookie that is going in the first round, especially early in the first round, is get used to losing early because you're going to the worst team. And I think that's just the reality of it. If you don't want to go to a bad team, now's the time to start pleading your case as to why you think you're overrated. Now, it's a little less money, but, it's, do you want to win early or you want to win later? Ask Peyton.
this is going to be a draft, I believe. I totally agree with you about Duggan. Duggan's a dark horse and a sleeper, but this is a draft where you're going to see guys like Hendon Hooker, Robinson out of UCLA. I remember watching that kid at Bishop Gorman. Faulkner out of Fresno State that lit up the Senior Bowl, and I'm missing one that I like a lot. Tanner McGee out of Stanford. These guys are going second, third round. There's going to be 9 quarterbacks going in the first 3 rounds, and I think a lot of these guys are starters in the league. It's a heavy quarterback, wide receiver, cornerback, and in 12 days, the drama continues. I got one more football for you. Is Lamar Jackson backing himself into a corner by not having an agent? 2-part question to Hardline. And people think just because they signed Odell Beckham Jr., by the way, his contract's $1.165 million. Yeah. 13.8 a signing bonus that came out of Steve Bisciotti's pocket. He went for the money because all he was getting was $5 million. Good for him. I'm all about guys going for the money. It's not guarantees going back. So where do you? Let's make it one question. Do you think Baltimore is going to get someone to bite and give him 2 first-round picks, or is this guy stuck going back to Baltimore?
I think he's stuck going back to Baltimore. I just don't see someone giving 2 first-round picks right now, especially because of his injury history. It's not saying that I don't think like Lamar Jackson's a great quarterback. It's not me saying that I don't think he has the intangibles to go to the next level. I do. But I think a lot of people are looking at right now, he's franchise tagged, which means it's just for this year. After this year, now you get to negotiate without having to give up those 2 first-round picks. I don't think that he's going to stay in Baltimore. I think that right now the relationship is soured because I understand where he's saying if Deshaun Watson in Cleveland that hasn't done anything could get this money, and some of these other guys are getting this money, why are you so concerned with paying me where I've given you an MVP, I've gotten you to the playoffs, I'm your best offensive weapon, and the only offensive really wide receiver you've gotten me is a tight end in the name of Mark Andrews where we really haven't built this out. So, and then you really haven't given me a running back. Like I like J.K. Dobbins, he's okay, and Gus Edwards, but they're not one guys. Like they're just not. Let's just be honest about it.
Injured.
Yeah. So I get where he's coming from. Do I think that he should get an agent? Yes. We've seen guys that have tried to do it on their own, like Richard Sherman, and it doesn't work out necessarily well. I think you need a guy that's willing to go to bat. And this is not me pushing, Excel Sports or Drew Rosenhaus. Their name and say you have to sign with those guys or that agency. Although, look at what they do produce. I think that you need a guy that's willing to work the phones, willing to work these connections and say, hey, I could get you this over here. If you don't comply or at least meet me 3/4 of the way with my client, we're walking. It's your issue, Baltimore. You want to suck. That's on you. But that's not going to be on us. And we're going to set him up for the best success ever. And I think looking at what he wants, I would not be surprised if right now there are preliminary talks. I wouldn't be surprised, 2 guys show up at the same golf course that just happened to show up about him maybe going to Atlanta, or maybe him going to one of the AFC South teams.
Love it. Fat Fish Sports, sponsored by Shucks Tavern. I work at the one on North Durango, but we have another one on Flamingo and Fort Apache. Great seafood. The guy on the other side of that icon right there, he used to eat there all the time before he moved.
Delicious.
Now the guy walks in that we sell our food and says same thing with Brad Grunberg. He says, "What, Hardison? Your food order's less this week. What, Hardison moved?" So, Judge Tavern. Also, let's get another pop out right here to another right here, baby. Let's do it. Johnny Cocktails Entertainment. That's Brad Grunberg and his production company. So we're throwing this thing up for you. Got Fat Fish Sports every Saturday with the man, John Hardison, one of my very good friends and very learned. I mean, this guy will tell you anything you want about sports. We had all the 4 major sports, but I want to do something with you. And we had hockey, basketball, baseball, and football, the NFL draft. I'm going to throw this at you. Now, I'll go first if you want to. Foursome for golf. Okay. You have to do a foursome. You're in it. But you have to pick 3 politicians to do it with you. And it's full 18, 4 days in a row. All right. You got to do like you're doing a PGA tournament. Who's the 3 Want me to go first so you can think about it?
Alive or dead, or it doesn't matter?
Doesn't matter. Live or dead.
I'll let you go first.
Okay. Mine are Teddy Roosevelt, San Juan Hill, one of the greatest presidents who coined the phrase, I'm a politician. If I'm not kissing your baby, I'm still in their lollipop. And he was a great soldier for us, and just a lot of things that he did. And, he had a lot of conservation stuff. And he'd probably be out there, kicking into divots on the golf course. Barack Obama's number two, because one of the greatest orators ever, and he could talk his way into a good shot, you know, out of a bunker. And Donald Trump. Those three right there. And Donald Trump's known to have a little, escapades on the golf course before. I could just see the three of them talking about politics, talking about sports, and who's going to get the one-upsmanship. And you got me sitting there, and I'm making cocktails for these guys while I'm doing it. I don't think Trump drinks, but I get him drunk. How about you?
You don't think he drinks? Come on, ask Stormy Daniels. He likes it dark and stormy. Uh,
Oh, wait a minute. I got to show this one. Oh, my God. Say that again?
you got to ask Stormy Daniels. He loves it dark and stormy. Come on.
Love it. That's dope.
Okay.
Give me your three. You're playing with these guys.
Okay. So I'll choose Barack Obama. Definitely, you have to choose Obama. I just think that he's not going to let you just get ahead of him. I think he's going to be ultra competitive with it. I go with Lyndon Johnson. I just think that one, I got a good shot at beating him because he's old, but because he's old. But the biggest thing about him is just the stories that he has from just being in those behind in those backroom meetings, especially during that time in our political history with everything kind of going on. I will say I'll go with George Bush, not only because he probably has access to all the best golf courses from Texas to Vegas, because he likes to party, and I think he's a bigger partier than Clinton. And I think that anyone that could be a bigger partier than Clinton, I will have the best stories for the rest of my life.
Well, first of all, I have a statement on that. Junior, I'm assuming Junior.
Oh, Junior, yeah, I'm going Junior.
Well, if Clinton's involved in this, let's say you and I are on a golf course. You and I get a chance to play with Trump and Clinton. It's going to be on Epstein Island. You know that. Look at that Netflix special. Oh, this is great, man. Chopping it up with you is fantastic. Fat Fish Sports. What's going on in your life? Anything special? Are you working your ass off down in Phoenix? Everyone
Yeah.
misses you here in Vegas, brother.
No, I'm definitely working hard. Just trying to get everything kind of still set up with everything. I'm still working on trying to get a trip back up there. It should be sooner rather than later. So definitely going to swing in the shucks. See you kind of overnight. Just make sure that everything's good. Just making sure everything's settled, but just staying busy, trying to watch all these games. There's a game that starts in about 10 minutes. It says 10 o'clock. I usually go about 10, 15 when tip-off goes. Brooklyn and 76ers are playing this morning. I'm really excited to kind of see what the 76ers really do. I think Joel Embiid has the MVP, but he's got to get deeper than the second round of the playoffs, and I'm really hoping this is the year that they at least make the Eastern Conference Finals, because it's kind of wasting away the great legacy that he's been able to produce so far.
Right. Oh, yeah. This is a great time of year. Oh, the hockey playoffs, the basketball playoffs, baseball season started. Just got done with the Masters, NFL draft coming up. It's a great way to segue to the hot summer that you and I are going to do. Let me promo something real quick.
No, you're good.
Out of here. This Monday on Fat Fish, the podcast with Brad Grunberg and Eric Schneider, we're going to have this guy on. This is Frank Oli. Frankie Oli. This guy is one of the number one flair bartenders on the planet. He's a young kid. And flair bartending, if you know, is flipping those bottles like Tom Cruise did in the famous movie Cocktail. This guy's going to tell some great stories about, I'm a gaming bartender. This guy's a flair bartender and a cocktail he makes up his own cocktails. He also just went through a very harrowing experience. He was involved, I don't know if you know about it, Hardline, but there was those major torrential rainstorms in Fort Lauderdale. They dumped 2 feet of rain in about 15 hours, and he got stuck in one of those floods, and he was a hero. So we'll talk to him on Monday on the Fat Fish podcast with Brad Grunberg. And we'll also talk about Brad's and I's quirks. We're going to talk about fishing. And Brad worked at the commissary at Fox. You know what that's like? That's a Fox studio. Yeah. I bet he was a waiter there. He's got some great stories about jerks that he dealt with and great people. So check out the Fat Fish podcast on everything you see down there on our ticker, especially YouTube, iHeart, Spotify. We're on 10 o'clock on the West Coast, 1 o'clock Eastern time. Hardline, get us out of here with something that you want us to know about you that you're doing right now that's fantastic.
Just working on the podcast right now, still a Game Away podcast. We're definitely expanding. definitely making things happen. We're getting ready for the NBA Summer League over the summer to see some of these young guys play. Victor is definitely a guy that's just coming down the street from playing at the Dollar Loan Center Arena to now playing at Summer League this year. So we're definitely waiting to see who's going to take him first. Also, kind of waiting to see the new head coaching carousel. I am super, super excited. We called it at the beginning of the year about the Kings being a good playoff team. I thought they were going to be much better, especially with Mike Brown. I told you guys I thought Mike Brown was going to win Coach of the Year, and by golly, he won it. So super happy for him. I think he got a little bit of rough shakes, but all in all, this is the best time of year because we're now at the final of the major sports time of this year.
Sure. And before you know it, we'll be talking training camps, and we'll come on next week. You and I'll do a little bit of draft preview. We'll do what we think are the sleeper picks. I want you to. We'll both do our homework, Hardline, for next Saturday, because people really get into draft parties here in Las Vegas. We're gonna have one, probably in the bar, and we do a thing with the top 10 picks for money, and you guess them. But we'll do who our sleepers are. Who's gonna fall into the first round? Who's gonna fly out of the first round? And give you something to look at, and we'll get Hardline to handicap. Like, hey, this guy's going to go in the first round. What is it? Plus 1,700. We'll find out. John, always great to see you, man. Enjoy your weekend.
Same
and we can't wait to see you next week, kid.
Likewise.
That is John Hardison of the Gamer Winning Podcast, Spotify, Apple, Google. Listen to him handicap. If you don't, he's going to handicap you. I'm Fat Fish, Eric Snyder's. See you next week.